One of the things we wanted to talk about here today is something that I've seen. I saw it my first time going to Dublin Comic Con, and it was an enormous sign about cosplay is not consent. We've seen these at Dublin Comic Con, New York Comic Con, Denver Comic Con. I think he's going to show a few slides here at the moment. And it's warning people not to touch players or harass them. So as you as cosplayers, people who've done cosplay in all sorts of different costumes, some big, some small, some fabric, how do you feel like, do you feel this is necessary? It clearly, obviously, to agree is, they feel it is necessary because these signs have been up since 2014 at least. And how have you felt? Have you ever felt harassed at an Irish convention, or people just got a bit too close or just a bit too much?
I suppose for me particularly, generally most of my costumes I am fully encased in a dragon, you know, so I think there's definitely, like, it is super important. I mean, consent's obviously super important, and I think that's the thing, is that, like, people seem to, the thing is, like, obviously a lot of it is there based on, like, you know, traditional feminine designs and stuff. Obviously the clothes are slightly more revealing or whatever. It's like, it's accurate to the design because people generally aren't trying to, like, you know, make them that way on purpose or whatever. If you're matching the character's design and that's the way it's been designed, that's not on you. You know, you're accurate to the costume. And, like, that's the thing, is that people will take that as an invitation, despite, like, you know, seeing all these signs and whatever else. And obviously that's the reason why they're there. But even in the dragons and stuff, I have people kind of coming up and either, like, grabbing the costume, or kind of someone putting their hand around my waist through the costume, or, like, pulling on the tail and stuff like that, or just generally, like, not asking for permission to kind of come up and touch it and stuff. And people kind of just take this as oh, you're on display, so therefore, you know, we can do whatever. It's really not, lads. These are everyone's people. Like, you know, the people we're not just there as, like, performers. We're not getting paid to do this. We're not on show for anybody. Like, this is our passion and this is why we want to do it. So it's like, people should not take that as an automatic, oh, well, I mean, you're here for my entertainment. That's not it at all, you know. So yeah, they're needed. They honestly are needed. Like, I personally haven't had any experiences in Ireland, like, in particular any bad ones on kind of the other front, although going to this cyberpunk skate last night, which that was a more kind of feminine costume, I was catcalled on the way down to it. So, you know, I mean, that's not in a con environment, but obviously the con environments are there to keep everybody safe. So that's why those are there.
I think what you're saying is very important to think about, which is that this is an environment that doesn't just involve cosplayers. So I think of these signs as not really for the cosplayers or for the cosplay community. It is to educate the rest of the attendees of the event. And they wouldn't necessarily know the blood, sweat, and tears and hot glue that is holding your costume together. So on a very practical level, it can be something that is needed to ensure that, you know, someone's costume doesn't fall apart. Mm-hmm. On the other side of it, I have worn a black bodysuit when I was doing Mara Jade, and I felt uncomfortable. Nobody particularly, like, there wasn't any specific touching that was overly problematic, but there was a lot of people who wanted to give me a hug or wanted a very close photo when they took a photo with me. And, you know, it's a costume that I didn't wear as much as I might have because I was uncomfortable in it. And this is a black bodysuit that was, you know, from here all the way to my toes. So there wasn't anything on display, but it was very skin tight. It was very form fitting. And, you know, obviously there were people who thought that this was something that was interesting to them or whatnot. So I do think it's needed. I think it's part of the general issue, though, in society itself. These could be just saying, you know, look out for consent at anything. You know, you can walk down the street and still have the same issue. So I think it's a broader society issue overall that I'm glad that they have made a point of trying to keep cosplayers safer in con scenes, because I think that, you know, that's really one of the only places we have to show off our cosplays. And if we can't be safe there, then where can we be?
Yeah, really good point. Yeah, very much so. I think I completely agree with everything said. And I've noticed as well, I mean, I make foam armor. I cover up for most of things, but there's a lot of people are still, I've had hands on me that I don't want to have on me. I've had people stalking me and following me around conventions, taking pictures. I'm like, if you want a picture, ask me for a picture. And trying to grab, like for my Cassandra outfit that I had the spear attached to the quiver on the back, because it was con safe. I mean, it's made of foam anyway, but it was attached to it. But I've had people actually grab that from my costume and try and take pictures and stuff with it. And I didn't even notice because it's on my back. I wear this big giant helmet and everything with it, so I can't necessarily see everything. But apparently someone had taken my spear and I didn't even realize. And they were gone away with it off of the con floor at Dublin Comic Con and things like that.
Did you get it back?
I did get it back. I do have it, but I didn't even realize it was gone. And this was an older person, because I'm only 5'2", but this was up on my back. This wasn't a child that actually got that off my back without me realizing. And he had taken it and given it to his child. I'm just like, why?
Awesome. Like that's just like
it's weird things like that. But I personally, I'd never think of actually doing that to someone. Or if you want to take a picture, and I've had others as well, no problem. I had the bow and I had whatever, and yes, you can pose and you can use a weapon, you can use whatever, but ask me about it. If not, then it's off limits. And that trying to touch the costume is the same now with the Sister of Battle. For my one, she has a jetpack in the back, and it's just a bit bigger than me, and I'm very wary of that at the convention, because I've had my costumes being destroyed on me before from people blatantly walking right into you and things like that. I'm like, how can you not see me? I'm sticking out with a sore thumb. It's the same. It's the same with Emer and the dragon. I remember when I made my Astrid and stuff like that as well, and people coming up to her, and we were trying to get Emer off the con floor so she could actually get out of the costume. And I'm pretty sure it took us 10 to 20 minutes to get out of the trade hall. Just to try and get to there, to get the elevator.
You move and the circle just follows you. It's like, which is fine, don't get me wrong, but it's like,
yes. But that's what we were trying to herd her around and get people away from her, and we couldn't. But yeah, unfortunately, it's all ages, and people just don't seem to get it. And like that, I think it's people at the convention, not necessarily the cosplayers.
I mean, and if you think about it as a punter who's decided to show up, as far as they're concerned, everything that's at the con is for their entertainment, and these signs, at least hopefully, will give them pause before they do some of this. So hopefully.